Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I hope you're building your projects for the Woodworking Summer Jam. It's nice to see some of those starting to roll in. I know for some reason, like right when I posted that video, people started uploading pictures of old projects. So I thought I made it really clear in my video that the idea was you're supposed to build it during this 3-day period, but I guess a lot of people didn't really understand that. So anyways, if those projects are on there, that's fine. But when I go to look at all the projects, I'm just going to be interested really in the ones that people built over this weekend. So if you did build a project this weekend, or you're building a project this weekend and you post it up there, make sure you put a note and describe it and how you did it over this weekend. That would help out a lot. Plus I'll just I think it'll be pretty easy to tell the projects that people made this weekend rather than like, a resin river table. Obviously, you're probably not going to be making that over the course of a 3-day weekend. Nonetheless, it's still fun to see all of the projects and the comments that people are leaving. Everybody seems to be really nice in there, and I thank you for that. A lot of you have been asking me about Antonio's shoeshine box. I'm getting back to that today. I'm sorry, we got a little bit sidetracked there, and of course with the catification stuff, and I'm gonna be getting back to the catification stuff too, because I still need to finish up those runways. But I wanted to show you some of the slight changes we've been making to the design on the box, and then I'm gonna start shopping for lumber and we can get started building this thing. This is the latest version of the box, and this will be most likely the final version of the box too. When I get these plans completed, I'll post them online, in case you want to build along with me and Antonio. The biggest difference between this and my preliminary set of plans is that this box is a little bit roomier inside. What I did is I had Antonio measure the height of his tallest can that'll fit inside of here, and then I just gave this a little extra room. So you can see that now that the interior is kind of a cutaway view, pretty close to a 1/2 inch extra. I've got it at 9 7/16 because that accounts for this piano hinge on here that'll give the lid a little bit of a gap. I'm not quite sure what that's going to be yet. Antonio really likes this tray to hold smaller things, and what I've done here is I made this also 1 inch deeper than I had it before, and I've eliminated the dados that would be needed to cut in the front and the back piece, because that would just be too difficult to do, because I'm going to split this top off, and I can't do that once the box is already assembled. So instead what I'm going to do is just put these kind of cleats around here, and that'll give this divider something to glue onto, and it gives these two cleats for this tray to set on. Antonio, we can go ahead and get the lumber for this project now. It's not going to require much. I suggest you just go to a home center, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever might be near you, and look through their stacks of boards. If you wanted to make your box really fancy, you could use walnut or oak or maple. There's lots of different types of hardwoods at most home centers, but you're going to pay a premium price for those species of wood, and I'd rather see you just get some pine boards. They're a lot less expensive and more forgiving. If you make a mistake, it's okay. You can just use a little bit more of it. Pine is also really easy to work with. It cuts easy and it sands easy. The way I've designed this project is that the height of the box is going to be made up of 2 boards like this glued together. So what I want you to do is get some 1x6s. These are called 1x6s, but they're actually 3/4 of an inch thick, and they're going to be 5.5 inches wide. So that'll give us 11 inches. I think the height of this altogether will be about 10.25 inches or so. So that should be plenty of extra width once we join these together. The most important thing is that when you're buying wider boards, the wider they get, the more likely they're going to be warped or bent or bowed. So take your time looking through those lumber bins and make sure you get boards that are as straight as you can find. Probably the better way would be to use thinner boards and glue together 3 of them, but that introduces some other problems, and so I'd rather see you just glue together 2 boards for this project, and it's going to look awesome. The other thing is these are 8-foot boards. 8-foot boards are pretty standard. If you have no way of transporting boards that long, you can have them cut them at the home center. Sometimes they'll do that for no charge. And if you do need to get those cut ahead of time, I would cut these into 30-inch sections. The other thing I want to do to help simplify the construction of this is I want to build this tray out of 1/4 inch plywood rather than have to resaw 3/4 inch lumber down to that thickness. So we'll use 1/4 inch plywood for this tray and then 1/4 inch plywood for this divider. You could get, a huge 4x8 sheet of plywood. You'll save money, obviously, kind of buying in bulk that way. But again, it's more difficult to transport, and then you've got to break it down and cut it, which can be a little bit more tricky. So I suggest going with these they call them like handy panels or something like that, where they're just pre-cut boards that are, in this case, 2 foot by 4 foot. And this is a sanded plywood, 1/4 inch thick. It's just super smooth, and it takes to stain and finish really well, and it's easy to work with. The other thing I'm really focused on is getting these plans super simple. I want to make sure that I don't leave out any steps. So I'm starting with, cutting out the panels. I'm making the end panels a little bit bigger. We're going to cut those down to size once we start assembling the box. And, I've made notations of all of that stuff. So it should be really easy to put this thing together. So once this box is all together in a cube, what we'll do is just cut this lid off all at once. We're going to need to order the hardware. I'll compile a list of that to send over to you so we can both have the same hardware. In the next segment, what we'll do is cut these boards down and then glue them up into panels. This is going to be fun. It's the ABCs of woodworking. G is for glue. There was actually a few different things I was considering for G, but I decided to go with glue because really it's just about the most important thing in a woodworking shop. Except for wood, maybe. And a lot of people who are just getting into woodworking are surprised at how glue is used on just about every single project. And a lot of us have probably heard this about a gazillion times, but it's true that wood glue is stronger than wood. So when you bond 2 pieces of wood together, you will not be able to break those apart other than breaking the wood itself. Understanding glue and other adhesives is so important for woodworking. I even have a separate video on glue basics. You might want to check that out. For years and years and years, I've used Titebond 2 wood glue in nearly all of my woodworking projects. And yeah, there's other brands of yellow wood glue you could buy that probably work just as well, but I've had such good luck with that, why change? It has literally never failed on me. Had a little bit of a problem with Titebond 3 one time, staining some wood, but Titebond 2 works great. Once in a while, I'll require a specialized glue, especially if it's something that I need to bond to wood that's not wood. Yellow wood glue only works on wood. So for those instances, say I need to attach something metal to wood, I'll usually use epoxy, just like a 2-part epoxy, the kind that come in the syringe. I don't have any of that to show you in my shop right now because I always kind of buy it on demand when I need it, because it doesn't have a very long shelf life. And I've had some epoxy, once it's open, sitting around for a while, and then you try to use it and it just becomes a sticky mess. It won't harden. Once in a very long while, I might use hot glue. You saw me use that last week when I was wrapping rope around a post. I never use polyurethane glue, something like Gorilla Glue. I just find it too messy and it's just not worth the trouble. I don't see any real advantage to it. Sometimes you'll see woodworkers use super glue, usually as like a temporary bond. I don't have any luck at all with super glue. It doesn't work well on porous surfaces, and usually when I try to bond wood together, it has no effect at all. But I also might not be using the right kind of super glue. I've seen some people use it and they have an activator that they spray on afterwards to help it bond. I don't think it's really that strong. Maybe in this direction, trying to pull something apart, but it's shear strength side to side. It's pretty easy to break a super glue bond. But that's just my experience. You may have different results with different types of glue. You may have a certain type of adhesive that you really like. Whenever I find something that works really well, I don't bother to change it. There's no reason to. So that's why I've been using yellow Titebond 2 wood glue for years. Hey, be sure and join me in my next video where we will take a look at the Woodworking Summer Jam projects. I'm really looking forward to showing you those. Don't miss it if you can. I want to continue working on the catwalks. The cats really like that so far. You know what's interesting is they like the upper levels the best. The lower section and the part with the hemisphere in it, use that. They don't go into that little box area at all. But the upper levels, they really like. Anyways, I'll continue with that, and I've got some other stuff to share with you, so I'll see you then.